Is the best Sean Payton a salty Sean Payton? Contemplating that and more.
Depends.
OBT.
Are we surprised at all that he's been salty the last 24 hours, even though the Broncos got their 5th win in 6 games? I would say no, it's no surprise.
You should tell people what we were texting last night, because the film reveals ways you can play better.
Don't lie.
Yes, that is right. Orange blue today.
Okay.
Cecil, lammey, Andrew Mason.
You faded away there for a minute. I didn't know what happened to you.
I had to get some water. It's behind the scenes, everybody. Yeah, we're here. And cheers to everyone out there.
Cheers to you.
As we discuss
Cheers
the Denver
you.
Broncos. A big win, Mace, that they didn't play their best ball. And we're all going to be excited. I don't give me this is only the Carolina Panthers. They went out there and they stomped a team. But honestly, I mean, 40, 35, whatever number you want to get to, they could have gotten there. And we'll talk about how they can get better. They played really good football, but not their best.
I mean, if you want to kind of just get down to it in the 4th quarter, when they were still trying to add to it, and that, of course, was the subject of some consternation today and last night for Carolina as well. They were pretty close to this thing being 38-7.
Yeah.
You had the fake field goal, which came after a penalty, which, by the way, you had a false start penalty on a field goal when the home fans were doing the wave. I know I've gotten some guff for this on social media, but that was a low IQ moment for Broncos fans doing the wave when the offense was on the field.
And they're normally not like that.
That normally it's a pretty high IQ fan base. Peyton Manning, if he'd been playing, would have been waving his arms and gesturing to people to shut up.
Stop.
Okay.
Cut it out. Mm-hmm.
Not the best moment for a fan base that usually is among the best in the league, as evidenced, for example, 2 years ago with the play clock countdown when things were going awry for the offense. So anyway, the penalty knocks you back 5 yards and you try that fake field goal. It doesn't work. That's potentially 3 points right there. Courtland Sutton fumbles there with a little over 2 minutes left in the game. That's another 7 points. And if you get that, maybe the Panthers just kind of meekly run out the clock instead of driving 98 yards to a score. So, yeah, pretty close to being a 38-7 game instead of 28-14. And I think Sean Payton wanted to see his team be more efficient as it went. You know, it had already gone for the jugular, but really kind of put a whooping on, as it were. And, you know, and that's where you start. And if you're a coach, you start saying, okay, well, where's that instinct to finish, right? I think that's something that frustrates him. And also he knows this was a bad Carolina team. The Saints team that you saw in New Orleans that was depleted by injuries, what was left of that team was a bad team. So you've won 2 straight games over lousy teams. You've won 5 of the last 6. 4 of those 5 wins against teams that are 2-6 or worse. Okay. So you've proven you can beat lousy teams. Really, the only one worth a damn that you've beaten is Tampa Bay. But now you're about to play 3 teams that if the playoffs began today, they'd be in. 2 of them were in the AFC Championship game last year. The other one, Atlanta, has moved into pole position in the NFC South after getting the sweep of Tampa Bay, finishing that off on Sunday. It's going to get it's getting tough, and I think he knows an effort like Sunday's with fumbles bracketing the offense's work, with that 98-yard drive, you had a 15-yard penalty on Malcolm Brooks. You might be facing another fine. He's already got a couple of fines this year, by the way. That won't get it done against Baltimore.
Nope.
Now, you should be able to get some points and some yards on the Ravens. Their defense is terrible. This is not the Baltimore Ravens team everybody knows, but this might be the best offense you see all year. Like, Baltimore looks more like a Kansas City type of team used to, and Kansas City looks more like you'd expect from the Baltimore Ravens. Think of it that way over the next 2 weeks. The Ravens are the Ravens are in a Chiefs uniform. The Chiefs are in a Ravens uniform.
It's not Freaky Friday, Mace. It's Freaky Sunday. And the Chiefs just traded for a pass rusher. So, hell yeah, you need to play better because you can do that against Carolina and win convincingly. Last touchdown. Although Jalen Coker, nice. Holy cross, man. Him and Khalif Raymond, right?
Carolina had some nice catches on some. I mean,
and some tight coverage.
Yeah, Jalen Coker looks like he's someone that you play more.
Right.
If you're the Panthers.
Right.
Like, he looks legit.
But that last touchdown notwithstanding, like, you ran away from this team, yet you didn't play your best football. And that's why Sean Payton was a little gritchy today, maybe even last night, talking about his team. You know, we can get into the JC Horn conversation. Now, I personally think that he put those trick plays out there for Kansas City and Baltimore to study.
I do too. I think the intent was make them spend a couple of hours of preparation and working on gadgetry. That's why I think he did that at that moment of the game. Get them to invest more time in stuff that is not necessarily going to be seen, but they still have to prepare for it. Now the other thing also is, if you're John Harbaugh, if you're Andy Reid, you look at the Broncos and Sean Payton and think, wow, these guys could do anything. They could absolutely, more double passes. I mean, flea flickers. All of a sudden, you're dealing with a rogue element here that you don't know what's coming, and that is to your advantage when you are that rogue element.
And you need that advantage, although they can be beat, as Nate says here in the chat room. And you got to play better, though. And Bo and Sean, that's been a really good game plan from Sean for the last 2 weeks. Bo struggled against the Saints with executing his passes. And then I said it in Mile High Monday, Mace, that was Oregon Bo. We finally got to see Oregon Bo. Granted, Carolina, whatever. But he had to go out there and do it. And he did just that. So it's nice to see him, hit that stride, make plays from the pocket. He only ran, 5 times for 4 yards?
Yeah.
Great. I don't want Bo Nix to run 10 times for 75 yards every week. If he needs to, awesome, because it's about putting film out there. Happy learned how to putt. Bo can beat you from the pocket because, of course, he can.
Yeah. It's the rhythm and timing of the passing game was the best it's been all year. Now, again, you look who it was against. Terrible defense, but you're facing another defense that's subpar this coming Sunday. You ought to be able to replicate some of that. And also, you did it in a game where, and maybe this is where you start talking, like you mentioned on the radio today about you maybe bring in a Miles Sanders at running back. This was a game where the running game was not up to par. Jaleel McLaughlin looked good. Javonte Williams didn't look good. Javonte Williams, unfortunately, looked like he did before he had that 4-game burst. He looked more like week 1, week 2, week 3 Javonte. Didn't have the same explosion when he got the ball. I observed as I was watching it from the press box angle, a couple of times yesterday, you saw runs developing that you saw the blockers kind of getting it, but you saw the guard pull, Javonte getting wide. Like, okay, this looks like it could be about 15 or 20-yard gain, and it was 4 yards.
Yes.
Yeah, like everything was done right in terms of executing, but the result was underwhelming.
Well, and I think I know a couple of those plays you're talking about, Mace. Was it ones where Javonte took a little extra step to the side?
Yeah. Yes, that was one of them.
Dude, the hole's there. Trust the line, trust the play, trust the blocking. And he's taking this extra step. And like you said, it's a gain of 4. So you're like, hey, gain of 4.
Could have been 15. Could have been 15. That's the thing. And I think that sort of encapsulates Sean Payton's frustration. You won 28-14. You're not going to throw the fish back, okay? It's a win. It's another acorn you put away. I mean, realistically, if you want to feel good about your chances of being a playoff team, I think you might be able to get there at 9, but the magic number is 10. You're halfway there. You're not living on a prayer. But if you're going to get 5 more against a schedule that starts with Baltimore, Kansas City, Atlanta, look, probably I think the only game you can sit there and say, all right, you feel pretty good that you can win even if you don't have things up to snuff is Las Vegas, because Cleveland might be better now that Jameis Winston is in there. We saw them beat the Ravens yesterday. Indianapolis is going to figure out they have to go with Joe Flacco, and they got Jonathan Taylor back yesterday. I think when they go with Joe Flacco, handing it off to JT, they start looking like a playoff team. You've got the trip to Cincinnati. They might be out of it, but they're also capable of putting up 35 on you, on anybody with the weapons they have. You got a trip to Los Angeles, and then you're hoping that the Chiefs in week 18 are done. Point being, you look back and you can say Vegas at home, Saints, Panthers, these were kind of layups. You played well, but these were kind of layup games in retrospect. I think there's only one layup left.
Right.
In the next 9 games. So you got to bring a little more if you want to get 5 of these next 9 and feel pretty good about playing in mid-January.
You're going to have to play better. It's the topic of today's program. We're going to do some trades tomorrow. We'll go a little back and forth there, but playing better also includes stop dropping passes. Stop dropping passes. The tight ends came through. That was awesome. We can talk about Adam Troutman. We've got some Adam Troutman clips that you got from the locker room last night. But Troy Franklin, come on, man. And Lil Jordan Humphrey, stop fumbling the ball. Josh Reynolds set to come back before the Chiefs game. We'll see if he can do that. But ways to get better. I like the way they fed Sutton. I like the way they featured the tight end. Man, I didn't like other guys. A little Jordan fumbling and Troy Franklin letting a big pass go right through his hands again.
Man. I mean, Troy Franklin, how many drops do we really put on him this year? How many do we call drops, right? I think Pro Football Focus officially said he had 1 drop yesterday.
Okay.
And he's got, we've seen the ball go through his hands, 2-3 times this year?
Mm-hmm. And these are meaningful throws, down the field throws.
At some point, you've got to reel it in. Now, Devon Vele, he may not get a lot of separation. He may not have a lot of speed. The dude's catching everything. Like that play, the third down, like 3rd and 4, it's not a great throw by Bo. Because it's leading Devon Vele, but it's low. And Vele just reaches down, plucks it, moves the chains.
Mm-hmm.
It was, you've been hoping to find moments where Devon Vele can really be the Tim Patrick clone that we talked about. There were a couple of moments yesterday where he showed that. And so I say, hey, give him some more work. Let him go out there. I'd say more Devon Vele, maybe less Lil Jordan Humphrey, less Troy Franklin. The problem is you're sacrificing a dynamic element. There was that play to Marvin Mims Jr. It's like they gave him a shot and, down the middle and,
he's not looking for the ball.
Got to look for the ball, Marvin. Like, if you want a moment that shows you why Marvin Mims Jr. isn't getting more opportunities, that's it right there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And he wants him. Like, he's hungry for him. But, dude, you got to pay attention. The ball's even possibly coming your way, especially, again, when we talk about Mims, and they can run shorter routes. But, Mace, these are big throws. These are chain movers, field flippers, even as I spit all over myself. Like,
yeah.
That's the type of throws these are that these guys are not looking for or dropping or fumbling away.
And let's play Sean Payton's comment on Bo Nix. I think you've got that in the hopper there, right? Let's play this comment because I think this sort of what we're talking about with the receiver sort of gets to the root at what he's thinking right now as he evaluates what he's seeing. This is Sean Payton after the game yesterday.
For a rookie quarterback, and look, I think all of these are steps, confidence steps. We've seen it. The key is, and I've said it, the key is around him. Are we good enough at these other positions around him? All right, and that's what we're constantly looking. We have to paint the picture, and when we do that, we'll have success. We'll move the ball. Today we're much better on third down, better in the red zone. 2 wide receiver fumbles. It just is what it is. Bothers you.
Are we good enough around him?
He's so bothered. The big win, he's bothered. I like that, Mace. I don't want these guys resting on their laurels. They can't play like that against a good team.
Yeah, and he almost said we may have to trade for somebody there. Like, look, and he kind of pivoted. But a few minutes before, he was on the Broncos radio network doing his post-game interview, and he was, talking about the receiver fumbles, especially Courtland Sutton's, specifically at the end of the game. And he said, quote, "Yeah, look, we got to fix that. There's a time when the down's over, and it can't just be my bad, or we'll find some other receivers."
And that's his guy. That's his guy, Lil Jordan, because Jason says in the chat room, unnecessarily fighting for extra yards that weren't there. You appreciate the effort, but sometimes just like go down, fight another day. That was already a good play.
Yes.
And you made it terrible and gave the ball on a short field to a team that honestly shouldn't have scored.
Yeah, you gave them a lifeline. Now, eventually the Broncos took control because they were the superior team and they found their rhythm, but it shouldn't have even come to that. The game should have been done and dusted at halftime. It wasn't quite there because you let them hang around in that first quarter. You gave them the fumble, you gave them a short field. And then something that we're seeing that's interesting, and I think this was very analogous to the Raiders game, where Las Vegas came out, Broncos didn't quite know what they were facing with an offense without Davante Adams, and they had the big play to Brock Bowers, and they got in the end zone lickety split. In this case with Carolina, the Broncos looked a little bit flat-footed by the screen game that Carolina leaned into, and that led to the touchdown. It was 2nd and goal from the 19, and Carolina got out of it for, first with a run, then with the screen pass, boom, they're in the end zone. Then the Broncos, to their credit, Vance Joseph and company settled down, figured things out, and normalcy was restored. But shouldn't have even come to that. Shouldn't have had that short field to work with to make it easier on them.
Yep.
And you did look. Carolina wasn't good enough to capitalize on the early lifeline you gave them. These next 3 teams that you're facing are good enough to take an early gift like that and shove it up your rear end.
And that's all it takes. You've got to play a lot cleaner. You don't have to play perfectly to beat Baltimore. You don't have to play perfectly to beat Kansas City or Atlanta, but you've got to play better than you did. How to be better? Receivers catch the ball. Don't fumble the ball. Of course, keep using the tight ends. Keep using court. Running game needs to be jump-started a little bit. And then on the flip side on defense, I don't know why Justin Sternad was out there instead of Quan Alexander more. Quan Alexander looked really good in the Saints game. He looked good in the Panthers game. And I want to see more of Quan Alexander because Sternad, who has played, we've praised him plenty for his play. And it's fun to see, especially because he had to wait so long to get that opportunity. But simply put, Quan Alexander is better at stopping the run. And you're facing Derrick Henry. So get the guy out there that's better at stopping the run.
Yeah, Sternad ended up playing 37 snaps. Quan Alexander played 13 snaps. Basically, for the most part, you saw Sternad when they went in nickel packages. You look at Jaquan McMillan, for example, playing 79% of the snaps in the game. Riley Moss played 100%. Pat Surtain played 84% of the snaps. Sternab was a sub package guy, and some of those sub packages involved three corners, one safety. That was another interesting thing that we saw actually early. They came out open in the game with a 3-corner single high safety package, and Devin Key wasn't out there. So they were mixing some things up. And I think maybe, again, another thing about that is giving Baltimore something else to look at as they try to dissect the film and see what they're going to get from the Broncos on Sunday, try to anticipate that. But, Quan Alexander, man, was brick wall against the run. And, with Justin Sternad, it came at him. I mean, there were a couple of stops that he made, but same time, it was a stop that they were pushing back and they were getting a couple of extra yards. They weren't getting those extra yards on Quan Alexander. Right. I think they're still kind of figuring out what they want to do. The problem is you don't want to telegraph your defensive intent based on your personnel. So you may have to figure out one or the other at a certain point.
Well, and we'll get into it further in the week, Mace. But where Baltimore is strong on offense is where you're weakest. I still believe the Broncos will struggle to stop the run. I still believe the Broncos do struggle to cover tight ends. Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman can be problems as well, but you got Pat Surtain out there and Riley Moss playing good ball. Doesn't matter if one gets by him, Coke or whatever. But it's like they've got 3 tight ends that they can attack you with. And King Henry's a freak still. So you've got some defensive adjustments to do, whether that's Quan Alexander or another combination.
Yeah. And the whole thing on Sternad is he is more of a plus player in coverage. So maybe this is a game you see him out there if you're talking about the tight ends. But the problem is you'd rather have Quan Alexander against the run if they're going to blast Derrick Henry up the middle. There are some problematic matchups here in this game for the Broncos defense. We're gonna have a better feel on this Denver defense and whether what we've seen in the first half of the season is going to be replicated in the second half of the season. Look, I mean, they're doing outstanding overall. They have found an alpha pass rusher in Nick Bonito. You and I talked about, okay, well, who's the alpha going to be? Is someone going to emerge? It's Nick Bonito. By the way, one thing to talk about as we get into the trade stuff tomorrow, NFL Network having that report over the weekend that suggested Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper would be on, the Broncos would listen on both. Baron Browning, if someone calls, I think you take the call. And if the offer is reasonable, you make a deal. Jonathan Cooper, I think trading him be a big mistake.
Yes. Yep.
Huge mistake.
Yep. And Coops talked to us about the game him and Benito play. They race each other to the quarterback every week. And I love that. And without Browning, you go, okay, well, more Jonah Ellis. Nothing wrong with more Jonah Ellis, right? And Dondre Tillman, maybe getting back, getting a jersey again. You've got the cachet to do that.
This is the thing with Browning and why, if the offer was reasonable, you may go ahead and bite. It's got more to do with Ellis and Tillman, and in particular, it's you didn't miss Baron Browning, you really didn't. Now, the gamble that you take is if you have an injury, then you're caught a little bit short. But I think you've seen enough on Jonah Ellis to where if he had to play more snaps, you're confident that he can deliver. And I think even on Dondre Tillman, you saw it wasn't just the Tampa Bay game, but the other games where he generated pressures. And he said, okay, I think you're okay saying, all right, if he has to play more, we're not going to be caught short there.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. I like that.
And maybe that's, we talk about the trade deadline, and I don't want to sacrifice draft capital, but does it become maybe a player for a player type of move? Maybe it's a Browning for a receiver, Browning for, you said Miles Sanders on the radio, if you want to upgrade running back a little bit, if you're still wary of trusting Audric Estime, if you're still wondering about Javonte Williams, whether he can hold up, maybe there are some player for player things. Maybe, Greg Dulcich, another name that was brought up in the NFL Network report. And, Sean Payton was talking him up today saying he's working hard, but also then said, hey, we're getting good work from the tight ends right now. I mean, so both things can be true. Greg Dulcich can be working hard in practice and doing his thing, but there isn't room for him to get a jersey right now because, Adam Troutman had the best receiving game of his career. Nate Atkins had a touchdown. Lucas Kroll, remember, part of the equation for him is he plays on special teams. Greg Dulcich did not. And he had a huge play on special teams, part of the 3-man combination that kept the punt from Riley Dixon from going into the end zone and forced the Panthers to start at the 1-yard line. Yeah. That's part of the equation for Lucas Kroll, too.
So when he makes a mistake as a blocker, and he does make some mistakes as a blocker,
you can forgive him. The Bo Nix, the design run for Bo Nix to the left side. Oh, man. Oh, Lucas, man.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, gosh. I mean, he was in the right place, and then it just kind of another one of those runs that you saw it developing and thought this has potential, and then it petered out.
Yes, but it's okay because he can play special teams. And with Troutman, he's our guy. He's our dude. He could be this. I'm not projecting it or predicting it, but we saw him at Dayton catch 14 touchdowns his final season. We saw him at the Senior Bowl where he was dominant against the nation's best seniors. And then as a pro, he's really been typecast as like, he's a really good blocker. There's always been more there with Troutman.
Yeah,
we just saw a little bit. We may never see it again, Mace, but we saw like Dayton Troutman there.
Adam Troutman in his last 2 years for the Dayton Flyers, 23 touchdowns, 1,520 yards on 111 receptions.
Woo!
That's what got him on some radars.
That's what made Sean Payton give up a ton of stuff to move up, like 100 spots to draft him?
Yes.
He moved way up to get him.
I mean, he got on the radar because of what he did as a pass catcher in college. That's what got him to the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Converted quarterback, by the way, as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he knows where to be, right? He knows how to find that soft spot in his zone.
And made a beautiful catch. Also a beautiful throw as well. And this is part of what excites you about the passing game is you see Bo Nix with a perfectly placed ball that only Adam Troutman can get to. And then Troutman reaches out with the one hand and pulls it in, makes a grab. I mean, couldn't have been better. Chef's kiss.
Yes.
There were some chef's kiss moments. I mean, we're talking about all the things that went wrong, but we need to play like Adam Troutman's. Both of his that big plays as well, because he had that 37-yarder where it was funny. I asked him about it, and he had no clue like what his career high in yardage was, and I'm like, hey, that says a lot about you. You know that,
right?
Like in a good way that it's not something you think of. But he guessed. He's like, I guess I had 23 yards on that play because of the catch and run. I'm like, no, you had 37.
Yeah,
it's like, whoa, that's another reason you like him. He's very, very modest about his accomplishments. Keeps it real.
Yep.
Like it.
The culture, the expectations, the standard has been set by Sean Payton. By the way, I looked up on one of my favorite websites, prosportstransactions.com.
Yeah.
I looked up what they gave up. They gave up 4 draft picks to get Adam Troutman. Yeah, 4 draft picks.
So Sean Payton traded for him twice, basically. Traded for the right to pick him in 2020 and then traded for him during the draft last year.
Yeah. And the pick that he gave up to get him with Denver became A.T. Perry, who's now here. And everyone in the chat room's like, let's get A.T. Perry. You're like, okay, I'm not against that.
I wouldn't be bothered by that at all. He showed a lot of potential last year for New Orleans.
Got a lot of speed.
And look, I'm not saying that you have to like take punitive measures when receivers aren't getting it done. And like with Courtland Sutton, we're talking about a day where he had a late fumble and also talking about that happening on the day of his first 100-yard game since week 2 of the 2022 season. It had been a minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good to see. It's good to see.
Nice to have that court back in the mix. But I mean, when you're little Jordan Humphrey, if you've got the fumble, there's got to be, something there that he's doing to make up for that. And Troy Franklin, part of it is you don't want to destroy his confidence. Hey, do we have the comment from Payton today, like on young players? Is that something I moved in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Play this comment because I want to set this up. Because Sean Payton, I asked him a question in the light of what he said yesterday about what was going on around Bo, and also in light of that comment, we have to look elsewhere for a receiver. And so I said, okay, can you find more? Can you find the more what you're looking for from players who are here, and they get that by growing and developing as they get more playing time and chemistry? This is what Sean had to say when I asked him that.
Listen, I'm pleased with our younger players that are getting to play. We've got a young group, a young team. We've got some veterans mixed in, and we just got to continue. Much the same as we're developing the quarterback, which obviously gets a lot of the attention. We've got to be developing these other younger players just as well.
I like that because we think about Bo improving. Well, the young players are improving along with him.
Yeah, it's just that you actually want to see the steps forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like the worrisome thing with like Troy Franklin is you're seeing the same type of miss that he had a few weeks ago, right? You want to see the miss become the hit. You want to see, you do have to see better outcomes, or do you take a look at A.T. Perry? I mean, that's, that would, maybe we're not at that point yet, but we are at a point where we have to start talking about, okay, are the solutions internal or are they external? Because that trade deadline is sitting here in 8 days. So unfortunately, I wish the trade deadline were actually right around Thanksgiving weekend.
NFL might move it back. They moved it back 1 week.
This year. Yeah, because it's gone from week 8 to week 9. I'd like to see it be around week 12.
Well,
it's an 18-week season.
Picture.
You're the 2/3 mark, and I get that from baseball. Baseball, it's roughly 2/3 of the way through. It's at the end of July, 4 months through a 6-month season. So that's kind of where I get that milepost of suggesting the trade deadline should be moved back a little bit more.
Well, and I like the fact that once that happens, if that were to happen, Mace, is right now, we know Carolina's a bad team. There's a few others, but let's say, for example, Cincinnati. I don't know if they're bad or not, but by week 12, we'd have a real good feel about how teams like Cincinnati, like, okay, are they good or not?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tells out there. Certain teams at this point, halfway through the year, and it's halfway, it's week 8, whatever, it's halfway. We can say a few teams, we know they're bad. But there's some like we don't know. And by week 12, we would know.
Right. The Bengals have 3 more games before that against the Raiders, Baltimore, and the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably would be expected by most to lose 2 out of 3 and be sitting at 4-7. And 4-7 means, hey, sell.
Yep. Get you a clear picture.
If you win 2 of those 3 and you're 5-6, and your closing 6 games are Pittsburgh, Dallas, Tennessee, Cleveland, Denver, Pittsburgh again, that may tell you bye if you're 5-6 or stand pat.
Mm-hmm.
But that the picture would be clearer for a lot more teams. It would be clear for the Broncos, because the Broncos would have 4 more games in there. They don't have a bye week before that proposed week 12 deadline, right? So you'd have they would have 12 games under their belt.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, but that's not the way it works. And it's funny, the thing at 12 games under their belt, because I would feel very good about this team if it gets one win in the next 3, plus the Raiders game, at 7-5 after 12 games, I think everything's there for the taking for this team. And I think that my expectation and hope for this team is get one of the next 3. If they get one of the next 3, I think they're going to be in good shape to be able to accomplish their goal of getting back to the playoffs this year.
Yep. And optics matter. If you play well against Baltimore, but you just lose, the optics of that'll matter. Same with Kansas City, same with Atlanta.
Cease, I actually think they have a better chance to beat Kansas City than Baltimore. Some of that reflects the timing of getting the Ravens after a loss that's going to have them feeling pretty salty coming back home.
Yep.
I know this was said by a lot of people. I tend to agree with it. Baltimore losing that game probably was not good for the Broncos. Now, Kansas City, of course, is interesting because they got the win over the Raiders. They've got a battered Tampa Bay team coming in next Monday night. You know, if the Bucs were at full strength with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, I'd feel pretty good about their chances to go in and knock the Chiefs from the ranks of the unbeaten. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen next Monday.
No.
So at that point, the Chiefs are obviously they're probably going to be 8-0 when you face them. But at that point, then there's another type of pressure that starts building on them. And if you get an early punch in on them, you can knock them from the ranks of the unbeaten.
Sean would love to do that. I beat him. The Chiefs
are
are unbeaten.
And that's another thing here. I mean, I think there's a lot of excitement out about this game, but boy, oh boy, win or lose against Baltimore, this team's going to be amped if it's going to Arrowhead Stadium with a chance to take them out and end their unbeaten start to the season.
Yep. But to do that, you have to play better against Baltimore, Kansas City, and Atlanta.
Yes.
Can't have receivers out there doing this.
Oh no,
looking like that.
and Atlanta causes its own set of problems too.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you could it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, they're a terrible call, a terrible no call away from being 6-2 with a win over the Chiefs on their ledger.
Yep.
The thing with Atlanta, though, as we've seen, is that they showed against Seattle they are still at a point where they lay an egg from time to time. The consistency isn't there yet. So that's where hopefully, if you get Atlanta coming in, maybe you catch them on a day where you get them off to a poor start and they unravel. But you also have
the Shanahan system with a bunch of weapons. That's dangerous.
That's the problem. Well, and that's why you and I said that it wasn't a 2-game stretch. It's a 3-game stretch. You and I looked months ago and said, Atlanta, when they figure things out with that scheme, with Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson, and Kirk Cousins, and the weapons they have, that they're going to be a problem. And now they have a 1-game lead in the NFC South, and they have the tiebreaker. They look like they're going to be playing deep into January. And that confidence is building. So, yeah, this is you get one of the next 3. You've beaten doesn't matter who you beat. If you get one of the next 3, you will have beaten a really good football team.
Yep.
Okay. And then you've taken another step on the way to where you want to go.
And then what are people going to say? Oh, well, you've only beat one. Oh God, please stop. This growth and development is fun to watch, and we'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to let the boy watch.
Yeah, it's okay. It's going in the right direction. I mean, actually, it hit me that I had the record right after 8 games when I said 5-3.
5-3.
I think you're more likely to have the season-long record right because I had the team fading in the second half, and I don't think they're going to fade in the way that I thought they would.
Well, won't this next 3 games tell us? Are you doing
will.
this? Even if it's like this, but it's fighting, or are you going to go?
Yep. Because the next 9 games, I think 6 of them are against teams that can be in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
These 3 plus Indianapolis, Chargers, Chiefs. You may get the break from the Chiefs if they've clinched everything. It looks more and more likely that Week 18 game will be against Carson Wentz and not Patrick Mahomes. That's
You'll take
helpful
that.
too. We'll take that. Take that.
Well, and they've been fortunate in, facing Spencer Rattler instead of Derek Carr, facing Bryce Young instead of Andy Dalton. So you got to take these breaks when you get them. They're on your schedule. You got to play them. It's not like you can be like, wait, let's wait till Carolina's good and then we can play them.
Yeah. You play them when they come up.
Yep.
Okay. I don't think you don't apologize for being 5-3, but at the same time, I think it's wise to note that you have the worst strength of victory of any team that's sitting in a playoff position right now. 11-29 are the records of the teams that you've beaten. And 4 of those 11 are from one team, Tampa Bay. It's fair. It's all true. You're making progress. You're growing as a team. You figured out how to beat the teams you should beat. But are there questions that are unanswered? Damn straight there are. And based on what Sean Payton's saying, he's right there with me in that belief.
Yep.
It's okay. It's okay. It's not being negative. Mr. Negative, I was called last night.
Oh my God. Yeah, we all got to stop with this. And I've already preached about this before, so I will minimize it, Mace. But this whole I can't listen to anything that's something I disagree with. No, you can and you should. It's called critical thinking.
Yeah.
And I like what Mike says here. Honest, upfront approach. Truth isn't meant to make you feel good. They could have played better. They could have beat them 40-3.
I think the players were disappointed by how they played because that was not a giddy locker room last night.
And isn't that something?
Yes, and that's another sign of progress that the guys were not happy with how they played. Coaches weren't happy, the players weren't happy. There's more meat on the bone, they know it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to sit there and say, "Oh yeah, we won, but this was, it was a letdown in some ways." It's okay because look, they want more. They know that if you're 5-3, and I had that stat over the weekend about how every Bronco team that had a winning record after 8 games, none of them had losing seasons. Okay, if you do that, that means you're at least 9-8. You're in the playoff conversation. This is what I mean. They know it's right there. They get it.
Yep.
But
they understand it.
They have to do the things to get it in their grasp.
I like it. Yeah. I like it. We make a hell of a ticket, Andrew Mason. You realize that?
Yeah. Maybe we should run as common sense independents.
Oh, that'd be cool
for office or something like that.
Yeah, we'd get the orange or blue vote, right? You choose us, and we appreciate you very much for that.
Yeah,
Mace, we good? We get the brain dump going, and Monday and Tuesday we're gonna talk trades. Tuesday trade talk for all y'all asking about that.
Yes,
coming up,
coming right at you.
Yes,
trade talk. Especially, I like this because we don't agree on this.
It's good.
Well, footballing January, says Bo Lieber. Well, everybody plays football in January because the regular season goes till January. I keep saying mid-January. You want to be playing in mid-January. When you've got other teams that are looking at coaching hires, you're still playing football. That's what you want.
Yep.
I don't.
At Vance Joseph, and you're saying not yet.
Not yet. Nope. Hands off. He's got a job to do here.
Yep.
Yeah. This game, think about someone who could gain a lot from this game on Sunday, Vance Joseph.
Oh,
because if the Broncos contain Baltimore and all the weapons they possess, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. VJ
might be running the shop next year if they have a good game on Sunday.
Definitely be able to call a shot, right?
Yeah.
You shut down the league's best offense.
he can be choosy. He can say, no, I don't want to interview with David Tepper because he's a crazy man. Like Ben Johnson did last year coming out of Detroit. Like, nope, no part of that.
Tepper was yelling for a fan to be removed. Did you see that video?
There's some conflicting reports on that,
Okay.
whether it was like that was really the case or not.
Okay.
But there's definitely there's that video. There's there's someone in the suite that's talking with the security person. So,
Yeah, whatever. Say no to Dave Tepper.
I actually at one point during the game, I joked because I just I just let fly with whatever's on my mind in the press box. I said, is Tepper going to throw a beverage on somebody today?
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah. Makes me sad having worked a couple of years for the Panthers to see where that organization is right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Won't deny. It hurts me a little bit seeing where they are.
Well, good thing it makes you feel good to do this show. I like playing football because it makes me feel good. Yeah.
Are you Dr. Feel Good? Are you going to make people feel all right?
Maybe. I did order leather pants today, which I don't know what that says about me.
Why?
I'm in my rock star mode, baby. And also it's out for a Halloween costume.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Thursday, I may not go to the locker room because you may get a special Halloween edition on Thursday. So,
okay.
I guess I could show you all my leather pants. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Don't know if we'll have any time.
Good luck with that.
I'm going to try them on.
That.
Yeah, I'm going to try them on and see how they fit. So,
all right.
Mm-hmm. That's right. We need your help for leather pants and more to help us out and grow the YouTube channel. We certainly appreciate the support we get on YouTube. We need it more. So how do you do that, Mace?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss vid.
I thought you were going to go with premature pointing there. You had the finger up. You were ready with the finger. So anyway, there you go. That's a wrap, everybody.
I'm not going to give you the finger.
Maybe all fair. There's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT's BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.